We start here this morning. Plenty of reaction coming in on the announcement of the arrest of Atul and Rajesh Gupta in Dubai. The Active Citizens Movement is welcoming the development. Let's speak now to the Head of Communications, Yashica Padia. Good morning, Yashica, and thank you very much for your time. Firstly, your reaction to the arrest of the brothers.
Good morning, and thank you for having us. Yes, the Active Citizens Movement does welcome the arrest of the Gupta brothers, Atul and Rajesh. And while we understand that the process still has a long way to go, we do hope that the extradition process will be speeded up. And I think together with many South Africans, we are looking forward to having them back in South Africa to answer for much of the fraud, corruption and state capture that they are alleged to have been very much an intrinsic part of.
I suppose that really is the other aspect to this, that beyond the breaking news, we've got this headline of an arrest. The reality is South Africans who want them back tonight to answer for those allegations need to manage their expectations. The NPA in this instance will really have to present a compelling case for their extradition. So do you see that happening? Because we've spoken of capacity in the country insofar as the NPA is concerned. Do you see this happening and happening at least a bit quicker?
Well, we are all hoping that it will. The State Capture Commission, we must remember, has received mountains of evidence during quite a long period. And I think much of that evidence came from many courageous whistleblowers. And we would like to see that this information does have some bearing and some consequences for what has transpired. We must remember the whistleblowers also are still suffering much of the consequences arising out of them speaking out. Many of them are still unemployed, unemployable, and so we are hoping that if this trial does happen in South Africa in our near future, you know, maybe even some of the money can be recovered from the Gupta brothers and so many others who were implicated with them. And perhaps our whistleblowers in return will receive some protection for the current status that they're finding themselves in.
No, it clearly is a lot of money. I mean, they're accused of fleecing the state of up to 15 billion. But if we look right now at just the statement from the Justice Department, it's very thin on detail. We're not exactly sure as to which case this relates to. There are reports that it relates to the Nulani investment case, that one that has to do with the feasibility study in the Free State. Now, if we look particularly at that one, it is a negligible amount. Any amount stolen from government, of course, is a serious offence. But compared to the allegations of 15 billion, this is 24 billion. And I suppose it's still a relief for many that you'd have people being nabbed for the smallest mistake when they've gone on to take so much from South Africans. Are you at least hopeful that it is perhaps that instance here where they'll be nabbed on just a little offence or theft of a negligible amount, but will still take them to prison?
I think what we're really hoping, and to say it simply, is that we want to see them in orange overalls. You know, we must realize that the consequences of state capture resulted in so much. We've seen record levels of unemployment in South Africa, collapsing infrastructure, high levels of poverty, and the list goes on. And we as the Active Citizens Movement campaigned relentlessly over, I think, at least 2 years, where we had an Orange Mask campaign, where every Friday we saw citizens going out onto the streets and demonstrating. And these demonstrations were calling for the Guptas to be held accountable, for all those who are involved in state capture to answer, to come to the courts, to be brought to court. And I think, you know, in some way, we are seeing now some action happening in regard to that. But I think what we want is for much of that money to be recovered and to see some redress in our country. I think, you know, we have been reaching a record low in many aspects in South Africa. And I think people really, I think the more money that we can recover, and as you mentioned, 50 billion, etc., I think whatever can come back and can go back into building South Africa and to ensuring that such looting and state capture never ever happens in this country again.
Do you think, though, that citizens have a greater appreciation of the implications of state capture? Because some people just think it's a buzzword now, but don't really locate their struggle to the state capture that has taken place. Because if we speak of Eskom, if there is no money right now, it's as a result of you've got power plants that are being built and everybody's inflating prices, and then you have an Eskom that must then, at the very least, speak to NERSA to increase mine and your tariff, that we must now pay more. And somehow it seems there's that disconnect where people don't appreciate at times how state capture has affected their very individual lives.
Yes, I think you're correct in that many people don't directly associate how much we've lost as a country due to fraud and capture, due to misappropriation of funds. So while we're welcoming the Guptas being arrested, but we're also asking for so many others who have been implicated in various state-owned enterprises like Eskom, Transnet, PRASA, SAA, etc., for all those people too, to be also brought to book. We need to see some consequences if we are going to recover some of this money. But I think more so, we want to see some change being addressed regarding all of these evidence that has come through. And also, we hope that, we know as the ACM that there are many whistleblowers who will be willing to go to trial. But we also perhaps are asking that some money that must come back should assist and protect these whistleblowers if they decide to speak out and give over that evidence in a trial.
No, whistleblowers must indeed be protected. Yashica? Yes, you can continue.
The arrest also, it strengthens our resolve to continue as ACM to challenge and expose corruption at every turn. Because I think for many of us, our hard fought for freedom in 1994 is yet to be experienced by the masses in South Africa, and that is unfortunate. So let's hope that this is going to see us with some considerable changes to make our lives better, especially for those who are suffering the hardest in this country.